Hello and welcome to the Dodgy Punts AFL podcast, just the tips. If you're seeing this, you know how to use YouTube, and I'm assuming type in Dodgy Punts AFL podcast. So congratulations. This isn't one of those ancient seven wonders of the world that never existed, like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I'm Jesse, that's Liam. This is a football podcast where we're not going to talk about the seven ancient wonders of the world, although that could easily be Dick Reynolds and Hayden Bunton Sr., but we are going to talk about football, Liam. Isn't that fun? What are we doing here? Tell our viewers.
Jesse, I always have fun talking footy with yourself. I wasn't quite prepared for our Just the Tips episode tonight because I didn't know we had to get dressed up for it. You're wearing your, rod and gun, looking all schmick. I'm in my...
Ralph Lauren. Rod and gun's for the poor.
Just a cheeky Ralph Lauren. That's not how this works, Jesse. That's not how this works. You say it, it's staying in, unless it's really bad. I like rod and gun. You leave rod and gun alone.
Half of my wardrobe is rod and gun, so I'm allowed to say that.
I'm here in my cheap as Uniqlo jumper, ready to tip for another round 8. We're moving through these rounds bloody quickly, I tell you what.
We sure are. It feels like only yesterday I was complaining about opening round.
Well, it was just yesterday that you were complaining about opening round. You never stop complaining. It's the complaint in perpetuity, opening round. Jesse cannot let it go. So is it round 8 or is it round 9, Jesse? How do you want to spin this?
It's round 8.5.
All right.
I can't wait for next week. We can make a Harry Potter joke. We can do round 9 3/4. Put that in your diary, Liam. We're doing a 9 3/4 joke next week on this show.
I can't wait. I'll dress up for it. I'm not too sure if I have any Harry Potter garb, but I'll be sure to acquire some. I will not. That is a lie. I just blatantly lied to you, Jesse. I apologize.
You would be a phenomenal Hagrid. And you remind me of him so much.
You're a wizard, Harry. Thank you, man.
I'm a what?
A wizard.
Are you threatening me?
What are we talking about? Come on, we this is meant to be a fast, quick episode about the tips, Jesse. We got 9 games to talk about. Here we are talking about Hagrid and the Sorting Hat and all sorts of Harry Potter stuff. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to tip. So let's start off with a bit of a recap of the scores. Last week, both Jesse and myself got 8 tips correct. Not a bad week, much better than the week before. That sees Jesse on 44, myself on 42. Do I have to go a bit rogue this week to try and catch a couple up? Let's find out. Indeed.
Well, given you smooched on your initial West Coast tip last week, I should be 3 ahead, but that's okay. We're not gonna chastise you about that in a public forum like a podcast, Liam. I wouldn't do that to you.
No, you would not do that. I appreciate that, Jesse. No technical difficulties. I forgot what we'd said in the first round. I apologize.
You welcher.
Yeah, I know. But here's how it's going to go down. We're going to go through the games, give a quick, brief rundown of what we think is going to happen, and we're going to alternate tips. Jesse, would you like to go first or second? It's the champion's advantage being ahead.
Well, I will take second because I only have to do 4 first.
That's good thinking, sir. That's very good thinking. All right. Well, let's just jump into it. Jesse, who have we got first?
Well, first up on Thursday night, we have quite possibly the game of the round with the showdown on a Thursday night. Which, you know what? First of all, before we talk about the game, likeable. Put rivalries in these marquee slots. Love it.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Adelaide versus Port Adelaide at Owl. 5:30 p.m. bounce down for us in the west, which means I think that'll be 7 p.m. local time over there in the city of churches / Radelaide / I think the serial killer capital of the world still. Lots going on for Adelaide, but they have this showdown, Liam. Who do you have? Do you have a power surge or do you have a murder of crows?
Oh, very well done, Jesse. Very well done. And by the way, just on a side note, this is the rivalry round. I'm not too sure why the derby was a few weeks ago. It seems like every game this week, bar the 2 that we're involved in, the 2 Western teams that is, seem to all be rivalries. I could be wrong, but most of them look like rivalries to me.
We've even got a Fold Cup in there as well, which could be one of the biggest rivalries.
Oh, the Fold Cup. I like it. Back to this game, though. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. I reckon the Power might have had their surge last week. I reckon they might have had a few too many big names go down last week. They didn't play overly well against the Saints. It was the Saints, wasn't it? It seems like so long ago.
It was the Saints.
It was the Saints. I try to put that game out of my memory. And Adelaide, whilst having a convincing win over the lower North Melbourne team, I've just got a good feeling. Oh my God, is this Vibe Cup coming back? Oh, is it coming back? Vibe Cup? Do you know what, Jesse? right off the bat, I'm going to go maybe one that might. Let's start that sentence all over again, shall we? Let's start with something that I think most people will think is going to be a bit of an upset. I am going to tip the Adelaide Crows.
I thought you were just forfeiting your tip to me out of respect for having Welsh on West Coast. This is great. Port Adelaide are the better side. Yes, they've got a couple of injuries. Yes, they are the better team. Pretty confident they can get the job done here. Adelaide are building momentum, but I don't know. I'd need to see them do it. It wouldn't be a complete shock. We know the rivalries change complexions of games, but I need to see them do it before I dive in. So happy to tip Port Adelaide to open up what is a very good round. And Liam, we said the showdown could be game around. I think we know what will be the game around, and that's next. What do we have for us on Friday night?
Carlton v Collingwood at the G on a Friday night. I mean, if this isn't the biggest game of the year outside of Anzac Day, outside of most other games actually, but this rivalry is one of the biggest. Carlton have had 90, 85,000 plus at each of their games this year, I think, or in the last 5-6 rounds. Having this game against Collingwood, it's going to be epic. I would not be surprised if it was a sellout. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker of a game, an absolute cracker. Jesse, you're going first for this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy to take Carlton here. I was against them last week against when they played Geelong, just with the feeling that Geelong are absolutely flying, and it was a case of right team, wrong time. I felt for Carlton. This is a game where they've now got to take on a Collingwood team that's trending up, despite the fact they drew last week against Essendon. These two teams always seem to pull out belters. Certainly in the post-COVID era, these two teams pull out belters when they play each other. So, if Liam was to come and say, I tip Collingwood, I wouldn't chastise him like I did for tipping Adelaide moments ago, because this could go either way. But I do think Carlton have got the runs on the board this season. I'm happy to take them on trust because there's still a couple of deficiencies within Collingwood, particularly moving the ball forward and then actually utilising those forward 50 entries, that I just need to see them do it against one of these really big marquee premiership contenders, because they were humbled by GWS. They need to start getting these type of games into their 4-point column.
Agree. And I think I said last week that Carlton haven't really beaten a team above them this year, and this would obviously be true if they did win this game. But you think about Collingwood as being that upper echelon of teams, because like you said, they are starting to come to the fore. But this would have been a smarter choice for me to kind of go against the grain, because it would have been a bit of a coin toss, but I didn't do that, did I? No, I'm also going to stick with Carlton. I think Carlton are definitely the better team this year. I think this is definitely, I think we said last week was a bit of a challenge for them. I think this is another challenge for them. This is going to really test their mettle and see if they are as serious as we think they are this year. But Carlton for me as well, Jesse. Who have we got next?
We have a battle for the bridge.
Another cracker. Three crackers
in a row. It's like Claremont in the 90s with the Cracker Brothers rolling out of their conveyor belt of talent. We have Sydney versus GWS. That deserved more from you. Sydney versus GWS on Saturday. Well, morning for us in WA, early afternoon for those on the eastern seaboard. This is probably the second best game we've talked about so far. And in most other rounds, it would be the best.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited. To be tipping GWS in this game because I think they will win. They are going well. They're a professional side. And crucially, if this game turns into a shootout, which I think it might, I think it's the advantage GWS. So happy to back them. Sydney got the momentum going with a pretty easy kill against Hawthorn only 2 days ago from the time of recording. So, look, another one where you can be a bit on the fence and say neither would surprise, but I do think GWS are in the pole position to win this game, and that's what I think they will do, Liam.
I was just no-selling your cracker one because you no-sold my cracker reference on the podcast, so I was just giving it straight back to you there, Jesse. Just straight back to you, And sometimes you just got to be funny. GWS, Sydney,
You could break open.
What's that?
You could break the competition open here with two different tips in the first 3 games.
Well, I think there's going to be some differences coming up, so I'm going to save those because I'm not going smart this round. I'm not going smart, I don't think. I like watching GWS this year. I think they're a great side. Lots of running guns. Sydney are also doing fantastic this year. This is a bit of a coin toss, given that it is at the G, and Sydney are going to have a lot of home support, but that doesn't really count for much in this game, I don't think. I am also going to go with the Greater Western Sydney Giants, the big, big sound. Moving right along. From whence it came. All right. So we got Cracker, we got Cracker. Now, what do we got now, Jesse?
We have loser leaves the competition is what I think it should be. This should be like John Cena versus Randy Orton back in the day. Exactly. This has to be. I'd say losing streak versus career for North and St Kilda. Is that what we're looking at here?
I think
St Kilda versus North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. This could be the least important game Marvel Stadium has hosted in 24 years of operation.
What do you reckon the crowd's going to be?
This could be up there. Well, do the players count?
Yeah. Okay, let's take out staff. Let's take out coaches. Let's take out the players. Let's say fans. How many fans? And take out the catering as well. Like, none of the bar staff. Just people come in to watch the game.
I will be genuinely floored if they get more than 20,000. And with already Eddie Maguire starting to beat the drums about North on his podcast, whether Eddie is right or wrong, he's a prominent media figure.
Yep.
It's not North's home game, which might save them, a slight bit of face here. But I don't think this is going to be a good look for either club because neither club is playing finals. North are all at sea. St Kilda, in my opinion, are very, very good value for their 14th because they have not been very good this season. Despite being in some close games, they're just not a winning side. And it's very, very interesting to see who you tip, Liam, because you get to go first here.
Do I? How lucky. St Kilda. St Kilda. I think we still have to tip St Kilda. I think it makes the most sense. I would find it utterly hilarious if North Melbourne did win the Amalgamation Cup. Just put them both together. Call it a day. The North Melbourne Saints, hey? There you go, Eddie. Solved it for you. No, I think, look, St Kilda should win this game. There's nothing to say that they shouldn't win this game. Based on how North are playing this year, I would be very surprised if they got the win. I would like it because I like to see underdogs win. That's why I'm a Freo supporter and always have been. I like the underdog story, battle to the top. But St Kilda for me. St Kilda for me, Jesse. What do you reckon?
See, here's the thing. There's a lot of scenarios here that can play out. If this game was in round 3, I'd be pretty happy to tip North. Off the back of their loss to Fremantle, I would have been happy to dive in and take North over St Kilda because I think at that point in time, their attacking play was quite good. What we have seen since then is a real descent into what could be the darkest days on field in the football club. And this is very conscious of the fact that West Coast existed last year. But the darkest days of a football club on field, I would say since Fitzroy in 96. And that's, cognizant of Richmond's time in the toilet, of Melbourne's time in the toilet, of the terrible first couple of years of both expansion clubs. It's grim for North. And it's that Victorian magnifying glass that makes it a lot worse.
Sure.
But 1 in 28 and a decline as opposed to an improvement is a big problem. So I'm tipping St Kilda. It would be very funny if North Melbourne won this game.
Yeah, I think if St Kilda do lose this, it's maybe it's time to go Rossi because that's
well that's my thing because if St Kilda come out and flog North, that's only going to keep the Barbarians at the gate for North. If North somehow miraculously beats St Kilda, the Barbarians are at the gate for Ross. There's a lot to play out here, I think, just beyond the standard St Kilda. If St Kilda go win by 5 goals, we probably don't speak of this game ever again. But if there's kind of polar opposites in terms of the extremity scale, this could end up being one of the most intriguing games of the round from a longer term perspective because there could be really, and that could be board level for North, it could be administrative level for the North Melbourne Football Club. For St Kilda, it might simply be a change of coach. But there's a lot to play out here, I think. Intriguing.
Very intriguing. All right. We're back on the banger bandwagon. Potentially.
We are.
Potentially. Melbourne. It should be. It should be. Melbourne versus Geelong at the G on Saturday afternoon, early evening. I think it's around that time, isn't it, Jesse? I think so. I've only written down
7:30 p.m. bounce down for the locals in Victoria, 5:30 for us Western Australians.
They're doing the double banger with the Melbourne Geelong West Coast Essendon. I see. Well, let's talk Melbourne Geelong first. Look, Melbourne haven't shown a lot this year, I don't think, despite being up towards the top end of the table. Every time we seem to speak about them, it seems to be, it's Melbourne.
It's like the old adage of failing upwards. Because every time I look at ladder ascending that high, I think you shouldn't be there this season. But yet you look at the teams that are directly below them. You're talking teams like Essendon, Fremantle. They're propping up that kind of 6th through to 12th bracket. Western Bulldogs in there as well. And it starts to become apparent as to why they are as high as they are. Because Brisbane have collapsed. Carlton haven't had the best start to the season. Collingwood have not had the best start to the season.
Carlton haven't had the best start to the season.
I don't think they've had the best start to the season they could have asked for. They lost to Adelaide.
Yeah,
they've dropped points.
Okay.
I don't think they've been rubbish, but I don't think they would be pleased with seeing, Melbourne above them on the premiership table in terms of how they've actually played for their justified rules. Remember, they were pretty lucky to beat Freo too, Carlton. So had that gone a different way,
true.
There's potentially alarm bells ring at Princes Park. But look, I think Melbourne are well organised, and that wins them games of football. They do remind me a lot of Ross Lyon era Fremantle in terms of the fact they can really grind out results, and that will keep you in the hunt. And they're not the teams you want to be playing in September. So we'll have to see how they go. This is another game where Geelong run into one and you think, well, this could be it. Mm-hmm. But then I look at the way they play. I look at the way they played last week, and I'm not sure they're tiring. They get the 7-day break, so they're not coming into this completely gassed in theory. Losing Patrick Dangerfield's probably not ideal for them, but they just strike me as a team that seems to have this never-ending conveyor belt of replacements to just churn out. They seem to go to Ireland every couple of years. They just randomly play an star who's invariably very good. And you know what? For that reason, we're gonna tip Geelong again. Yes, they have to lose at some point this season, and I'm sure it will be to someone very funny like Hawthorn, although they just played them and won. But I do suspect this is another game they can win, keep their streak going into early May, and just honestly see what happens from there. Because did we have Geelong a clear top minor premiership hope 8 rounds into the season? I certainly didn't. I don't think you did. I don't with respect to Geelong coming into the season. I don't think many people did. Liam, what's your take?
It's hard to actually kind of add on to what you just said, Jesse, because you pretty much covered all the bases. To be honest with you, we didn't expect Geelong to be doing this well this year, and I think they've been coached amazingly well. I think what you said about the pieces coming in and out. It doesn't seem to be an issue. They've got good depth. Dangerfield wasn't in the team for a few rounds this year already. He's already missed a bit of time this year, and they had no issue with him missing. So I'm going to go Geelong as well. I can see this being a potentially close game and a good game, hopefully. But based on what I've seen so far this year, I think it's only fair to tip Geelong over Melbourne. But again, wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if the D's decide to show up and Fritsch kicks 7 and Ben Brown kicks 1 because he took 14 minutes to actually get his run up sorted. I can see Melbourne maybe pulling off a win here, but Geelong for me as well. Geelong.
Our final of the Saturday night games, a Saturday night game that I'm attending, and according to the countback I did, this is the first time I've been to a neutral AFL game since 2013 when West Coast played Essendon, and lo and behold, on Saturday night, West Coast play Essendon. I'm actually quite excited for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm undenied about who I was going to tip, Liam, but I will throw to you first before I reveal all my secrets. This could be a little sleeper game. I don't mind what we're being offered here.
It's funny because, obviously, the start of this year, we would not be that excited for an Eagles game, but they have shown us so much across the last month that you're like, well, actually, this is a team that you kind of want to watch and see how these young kids, the mix of young kids and the stalwarts, kind of put it together and make a lovely game. This is definitely gettable for them, especially with old Harley back from his vacay or his week off. He brings a lot to the team. We spoke about this in the podcast main, that, he's a bit of an X factor. He's a bit of an X factor for them. So they didn't get the win on the weekend, just gone. But if he was there, it potentially would have had a little bit of fire under the belly. Essendon, again, it's kind of like one of those. It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, how good they see themselves in the 8, but have they been good? Have they been okay? Like, and if they've just been okay, then the Eagles, who are kind of playing some good football at the moment, can probably get an okay team. And at home, the Eagles fans are going to be quite raucous. They gave them a run for their money last year as well. Jesse, I've done it once before. I'm doing it again. I'm jumping on the Eagles bandwagon.
Good on you.
Yeah, go on the Eagles. Come on the Eagles. You don't hear me saying that very often. Come on the Eagles.
I genuinely changed my tip a couple of times here today when thinking about who I was going to tip. I undenied a lot. But then I went back and I watched a little bit of Essendon against Collingwood. And this next month is absolutely imperative for Essendon because they need to essentially figure out what they are. If they're going to contend for finals, they need to get to the buys in the 8.
Yeah.
So, pound for pound, Essendon probably have 5-6 goals on West Coast. But what West Coast have right now is a game plan that is working, investment from the players, and buy-in from the supporters. And that is a very, very difficult environment to come into, especially when you have to travel the country. While some people might just go with the old antiquated argument of, it's just West Coast. If they win, who cares? I disagree. I think this is a massive test for Essendon. And while not as big as the test they faced on Anzac Day, I do think it's comparable. And, you get the 9-day break coming in. West Coast coming off a 6-day break. They've got a bit of rest in their legs. They also do have a bit of quality. And I think the quality that Essendon have had has been just that little extra step taken by a couple of their players. Guys like Nick Martin who have taken that next step. Zach Merritt's having a career best season in a very good career. They're getting extra bits of quality out of their team. And that's setting them from being a team in that probably 11th to 16th bracket into that 6 to 10 bracket. That's where they are now. I think that's where you're going to end the weekend, win or loss. But this is a game that I have them winning. So tipping Essendon, but I'm actually very much looking forward to spectating this game.
I think it's going to be an interesting one for Essendon just based on the fact that, teams have kind of taken the Eagles a little bit too lightly this year and have nearly paid the price for it. 9-day break versus 6-day break, sure. But I think if Essendon, the reason it's a good test for Essendon is because they need to show that they can do it against up-and-comers, not just the top. It's going to be interesting. I cannot wait to talk about this next game.
I can. Do we have to?
You can wait. Of course we do. We always have to. You know what it's like. Okay. Richmond versus Fremantle at the G. We got a game at the G. How exciting. On Sunday morning.
We'd never play well here. It's 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. They're going to drag Kelly out for this.
Listen, you said this last time that we never play well there, and I can only disagree based on results in the last few years. No, we didn't beat Collingwood there last year. We beat Melbourne there the last couple of years. That's pretty good. That's not bad. It's not like negative like win-loss record. I don't think.
Was it at the G that we completely blew a game against Richmond and ended in a draw that we absolutely should have walked in? Or was that a Marvel?
How long ago was that?
I reckon it was 22. I reckon it was a game we should have won. And Richmond stuffed it up right before the siren, but we should have put that game to bed.
Why? Why are you focusing on that, not the 2 excellent Melbourne wins? Why you got to be so negative, Jesse? Come on.
Because I'm a negative Nancy.
You are a negative Nancy. All right.
I get to go first in this one, don't I?
You do get to go first in this one. Yes, you do, yeah. Because I chose the Eagles first. You do, yeah.
I do, and I'm going to tip Fremantle. Purely, but you know what? They're going to get absolutely flogged, and I'm going to be here, going to be sitting in this very chair at 2 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, swearing into my keyboard, and then at 6 p.m. in this very chair, swearing at Liam on the Dodgy Punts AFL podcast about how rubbish we are. But look, in all seriousness, I do think this is a vital test for the Fremantle Football Club. Richmond are not in the best shape physically. They don't seem to be in the best shape psychologically. I get nervous with these type of games because Richmond do have quality in their side. Will Liam Baker play the game of his life as an audition to play for Fremantle next year? Potentially. Will we struggle to kick 60 points at the MCG, which even happens when we win, Liam? potentially. Is this going to be a fun game to watch for a neutral? Look, I'd probably recommend doing the gardening, but I think for a Fremantle fan, there's a lot to gain out of this from how we play away from home in a hostile crowd against a side that is potentially looking like a prey animal, but is also very much capable of playing possum and luring us into a false insecurity. So Fremantle for me, but a nervous Fremantle for me.
Yeah, I think a nervous Fremantle seems to be about right. It's every week is a nervous Fremantle when you pick Fremantle. Let's be real. Look, I think it's we're going to get a few keys back in this week. Hopefully, I think Swit as a test. You got a miss as a test. I think so. I also
Draper
think
as well.
Draper as well. Perfect.
I know he's not technically an in, but hopefully not an out.
Hopefully not an out. He's been playing very well. But one thing I noticed in the Eagles game, despite we said it was a horrendous game that was, right? Darcy's first game back in.
It was.
They looked at C. They didn't know what they were doing. Last week, they actually looked like they started to put that piece together a little bit. So I think it started to actually flow a bit more with Darcy in the middle. So hopefully, not bringing back in these three others will just help bolster that a little bit. That's my hope and my pray. Also, and like I said at the start of the year, we're in rules of threes this year for Freo. We had 3 good, we had 3 bad. Now we're in the midst of a 3 good. So Freo are going to win this game and move on to next week, hopefully with the 4 points in their back poche.
How's that going to work if we somehow stumble into finals? Because, well, unless we have to get top 4 for that, because we can have 3 good that aligns exactly with qualifying preliminary grand final. So, Justin, start timing your run.
That's the equation, Justin. Let's go.
I noticed a very quick aside. I did find it very funny that Justin Lemieux personally put out an Instagram message about players playing their role just to give me the middle finger after he won a game. So well done, Justin. That's really nice. Can we make finals for the second time in your 5-year tenure, please?
It's all for you, Jesse. It's all for you. Let's move on. Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn at Marvel Stadium on Sunday afternoon in the game that I will probably not watch. No, I will watch it. I'll watch it for you guys because we love you. Bulldogs, Hawthorn. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on this one. I'm going to say I'm first, aren't I? I'm first.
Yep.
I'm going to say the Bulldogs only because Hawks have not been playing great footy. Bulldogs haven't either, but that said, they are playing the Hawks. If they don't get the 4 points here, problems. Jesse.
Agree. Bulldogs are pretty good at Marvel. I'm not sure they're the best travellers, so that's potentially part of the element of the Fremantle loss last week. They should get Ugle-Hagan back. That's probably worth a couple of goals alone. Pretty happy to say they should go and win. Now, with respect to Hawthorn, it's not looking great, guys. It's not looking great. One thing I do want to talk about, look at the time of this game, Liam.
Which one is it?
It's 5 p.m. in the afternoon. They're starting Brisbane Gold Coast in Perth, which means it's 7 p.m. on a Sunday night for the Q Clash.
There must be a public holiday on the Monday in Queensland. There must be a public holiday in Queensland on the Monday. Must be. No other reason.
Hardwick Day, I'm assuming, because it's Brisbane versus Gold Coast in the Q Clash. I get to go first on this one. Hooray. And I'm tipping Gold Coast for a bit of an upset because I said earlier in this podcast about Carlton being right team, wrong time for Geelong. Gold Coast are catching Brisbane right team, right time. Because Gold Coast play an attractive brand of football and they're taking on a team who seems to be having a pretty severe identity crisis, coming off being absolutely out-muscled down in Canberra on Anzac Day for 4 quarters by GWS. Now, it is worth saying that pound for pound, Brisbane would probably win this game on paper. But as we've seen up 10 times this season, this game is not played on paper. I accept this as a risk, especially given Gold Coast seem to deteriorate into 23 drunken pelicans when they have to step 1 yard away from People First Stadium. However, they're only going up the road. I've done that trip from Gold Coast to Brisbane. It's only about an hour. I did it in a pretty luxurious 7-seater.
Oh.
Hopefully they get better service to Gold Coast. So, you know what? Fingers crossed, a Gold Coast win. Liam, I'm on your vibe team now. Get your own. Who are you tipping?
Well, thank you. Welcome to the vibe train, my friend. Yeah, look, it's a tricky one, this, because and I feel like I say this every week. Brisbane should win. Brisbane should have won a lot of times this year, and they have not. And it's rather confusing.
They should not be 13th.
They should not be 13th. And I keep saying, this week's going to be the one. This week's going to be the one. And right now, I would like to tip the Gold Coast Suns, but then I look at our tip score and I'm like, well, is this a smart one to jump onto the Brisbane bandwagon for, even though I don't really want to?
A forced bandwagon. That's a new one.
Yes.
Is this like all the Taylor Swift fans jumping on Kansas? Like they're kind of forced to be there just because
because
Taylor's there? It's like, I love concussion ball. I've always said that they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Kansas City
Defense.
Chiefs. Okay, I'll go Brisbane. I don't really feel good about it, but I'm going to tip Brisbane because I need to get one back. And my other two upsets, I don't actually. Have we differed on anything else?
We've differed on West Coast Essendon.
Okay.
We've differed on the showdown.
Yeah, and that's it.
And I believe that's it. We didn't differ on Collingwood Carlton, did we? Or the Battle of the Breach.
No, we did not. I don't feel good about it. I don't want to. I don't feel good about it. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to tip Brisbane.
So don't do it.
No, I have to now. This is the thing. Now I've said it, I can't change it because then I'll be like, God.
So now you've said it, you can't change. I didn't know Jesse, that rule's always been a thing.
Jesse, no one knows about that except for you and me, and no one's going to get it or understand. Move on. It happened.
Liam lied to all of you like a liar.
I didn't. Oh, I just not my computer. I did not. Anyway, let's wrap this up, Jesse. We've got to finish this up. We're over half an hour, for crying out loud. I think that's it, right? We got all the tips in. Should be a good round of footy.
Just the tips, just a bit of extra banter on the side because, why not have some potatoes with your steak? Thank you for joining us on the YouTube exclusive Dodgy Punts AFL podcast, Just the Tips edition. Make sure you are liking, sharing, subscribing, and leaving a comment with your tips for this upcoming round. I'm Jesse. That's Liam. That's Liam. That's Liam. How good is directions? And we'll see you next week on Just the Tips.
Bye, everybody.